Welcome back, YouTubers, to another Good and Bad of the Week audio. The audio that us, the British Fist, do at the end of the week, where we analyse Raw, TNA, SmackDown, then we compare the shows in our reports at the end of this. So make sure you guys subscribe up above for this, like this video, and get your comments on anything that's happened in This Week in Wrestling down in that comment section below.
And make sure you contact us in the links in the description box below.
Of course so. So where do we start off with this week, NJ? With, should we move on with Raw quickly, or shall we have a little bit of intro first?
Let's go on to Raw.
Okay. Okay, so we began Raw this week with The Rock via video feed.
Which we used to, because in the past he has let us down by not turning up on the show.
Yeah.
But then again, it's not one of the important Raws, so whatever.
He is going to be on Raw in 2 weeks, but I believe I said this in the review. I do think if you're going to promote a pay-per-view, you do kind of need to show up. The Rock basically says yes to Cena's proposal. We kind of knew that. It was advertised like 2 months ago that he was going to team up, so we kind of knew they were already going to team up. Decent promo by The Rock, of course, behind the camera. But it's just so underwhelming when he doesn't show up to a show. I mean, that's just me. I was a massive Rock fan, but since then I've kind of moved on a little bit. And if he doesn't show up, then I'm not really going to have too much faith in the guy.
Well, I am a fan of The Rock. I'm just thinking, as this Raw weren't that important and he already had the Muppets there, we didn't really need The Rock to make an appearance as well, to make it even bigger, but whatever.
The Miz and Truth response video was pretty fucking good. Also, can I just quickly talk here? I want to get your opinions on the Muppets being on Raw. What did you think of the Muppets being incorporated into the show this week?
Well, when we first read the report they were going to do it, we straight away thought, oh dear.
I nearly shot myself.
Well, that's what because we don't really need them, because to be honest, the guest hosts, I thought they finished that. I thought they've done everything they did. They got the draw back then. But having the Muppets, again, yes, the WWF has now turned into WWE, or about entertainment. So the Muppets were meant to bring the entertainment. But when you had Survivor Series coming up, you did need to concentrate on the build of that and giving us hints towards that.
And that was my issue with this. You know, it's fine trying to introduce some entertainment aspects, but I was never personally a fan of the Muppets. I didn't really see what the Muppets really added to the show. If anything, they took time away from precious pay-per-view hype, but that's just my opinion. We'll move into the first match of the evening, which was CM Punk versus Mark Henry, in a match which, beforehand, it was one of 4 pre-hyped things we got for Raw, if it was on the internet, of course, but this was to determine if Punk would deserve a number 1 contendership. John Laurinaitis.
Oh dear, but when I look at this match, I think, okay, yes, you're giving CM Punk a challenge to the way Mark Henry's been built, but these two both have a pay-per-view match coming up. And you're thinking, okay, you both need to make him look strong, have wins, and if who's meant to win out of these two? Who's really? I know it's all about CM Punk winning to get his championship, but still, Mark Henry needs to look strong.
This could have been announced next week in that promo that they had, but oh well. We basically get 2 minutes into the match, and Del Rio comes to the ring, sends Ricardo Rodriguez, and gets Punk DQ'd. So Mark Henry wins the match.
So it saves what I was saying, that we don't really need a clean winner.
But still, I think it could have been announced last week, so you could allow to build the feud a little bit more than they did. Punk basically beats on Del Rio post-match, and then we move on to the Divas Battle Royal for the number 1 contendership.
The thing is, when you think of Battle Royal, you think of more than one Diva, so any Diva could have won. Just remember that. Remember that. Because then it carried down, people got eliminated, and surprise, surprise, the one who just had a title match, Eve, won.
This was shit. It was really boring. Beth Phoenix was on commentary. Eve winning, yeah, okay, but that she eliminates Natalya last, which kind of makes sense. But it's just the way that the Divas are doing the books at the moment. It's kind of pissing me off. They're booked so bad. Like, you're supposed to be dominant Divas, generating interest in the Divas division, but they're not doing it. It's another typical Diva shit segment that I don't give a fuck about. They
cut great promos, but when it comes to matches, you don't really get to see what we were interested in when we first heard about them. They just didn't perform as well as they should have done.
And now, to me, this next segment was probably the most effective of the night. Air Boom versus Rhodes and Barrett. Now, we know that Evan Bourne had this whole drug thing going along. They kind of needed to drop the titles, in my opinion, whether it was on Raw or SmackDown. Obviously, they didn't do it. But do you think that because Evan Bourne has been suspended, that they should maybe have dropped the titles? Because they can't really appear together as a tag team now for a whole month.
Well, I've got 2 thoughts about this. No, because Survivor Series, they're not going to have a championship match. They're going to have this whole 5-on-5 probably.
Give it to Awesome
so no point losing the championship. I think there's no point because They can keep it for another month because Survivor Series there's a 5-on-5. But yes, because to be honest, that's a whole month of not using the championship.
Exactly, but Evan Bourne isn't going to be able to make it to Survivor Series now because of his suspension. So we'll go on to the match anyway.
Yeah.
Because if you have any thoughts on that, put it in the comment section. It was a big bit of news this week. Thought I'd mention it. Airboom versus Rhodes and Barrett. You know, you had the Barrett barrage. It's really hard to say, but Barrett basically gets the pin, and we see then that. We have Christian interfere, Sheamus interfere, and we see the possibility here of maybe a traditional Survivor Series match involving a couple of these guys, interweaving a couple of feuds. This is why I feel it was the most effective segment of the night. It was a pretty decent match, which got 5.5 minutes, but it teased something which I wanted to see at the Survivor Series pay-per-view.
Again, I'm glad they're doing teasing because they need to start doing it because obviously they've only got about 2-3 weeks before the pay-per-view. The other thing is, they've only started to push weight just because of Survivor Series. That is my problem. They could have pushed it whenever they wanted, but they had to wait till now. Whatever.
Exactly, and I do feel they're pushing this guy to maybe a Royal Rumble win or something. I don't really know. I think Sheamus should win it personally, but who knows what they're going to do about it. It's interesting how they're giving Barrett all these wins, like what they might be doing with him. It's just an interesting thing that we're seeing right now, a guy that we like finally getting some wins. Next we have our main event. It's Big Show versus Alberto Del Rio. Again, the fact that this match ended clean was ridiculous. You have Big Show, who's a possible number 1 contender, facing Alberto Del Rio, who's the champion, who has been booked like shit, and he continues to get booked like shit, even though he was booked okay in the match. Why does he get pinned clean by Big Show? I just don't get it. It's stupid booking.
I found this really horrible because it's not the first time we've seen Big Show take down Del Rio. It's the second time now, and I thought this was absolutely horrible because Del Rio is our WWE champion, and Big Show is only a contender.
Definitely. We saw this on SmackDown a few weeks back. The match went a bit too long, in my opinion. It kind of dragged a little bit. Even though I like matches getting good time, this match I don't think was interesting enough to really warrant 14 minutes.
No, the thing that made this match long is submission moves.
Yeah.
Again, it's the submission moves that kept on dragging continuously in this match. When I think if they were going to make Big Show win, they should have made him, sadly, have done it earlier. But it has made Del Rio look quite strong to last this long with Big Show in.
They could have just made a DQ finish with fucking Punk coming out and causing disqualification, then doing what he did. At least it would have buried Del Rio. We get Punk coming out after the match, saying that he'll put Del Rio in an Anaconda device until he says yes to the challenge, because Laurinaitis said if he can get Del Rio to agree to the match, he'll get his title match. I just don't get why they didn't just announce it last week. Skip all through this.
Bull! Yeah, because I just thought this was a stupid way to get your championship match, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, let's just move on. Yeah. Burying Del Rio some more, pretty standard for WWE. We then have a joke match. Jack Swagger versus Santino was made earlier by that Muppet segment. There are a bunch of Muppets. This is such a joke, and it's filler, and that's why it's a fucking joke for me, because it's so filler.
As much as I'm going to defend this match a little bit. The reason I'm defending this match is because in tag matches between Dolph Ziggler and Swagger in tag matches, it's always Ziggler who gets pinned.
Yeah. So
I'm thinking with this match, to have Swagger actually lose and be pinned, I thought, fine, it's taught him a lesson now.
This is where you introduce one of the Muppets into the match, and it was just like, really? And then Jack Swagger loses. Fucking stupid, in my opinion.
Swagger.
Ziggler versus Ryder.
No better.
Really, it was a decent match. It's just that you had Ziggler have his foot under the ropes for then Zack Ryder to win anyway after that. And it's just like, well, why are they making the US champion get defeated by Zack Ryder? I just don't... It's like so topsy-turvy now with the US title picture. You just don't know what the fuck's going on with it.
But the sad thing is, by reports we've read on WWE and other sources, that Zack Ryder is becoming more into the US title picture, so I wouldn't be surprised if they finally drop the title from Ziggler, who's not been the greatest US champion, and give it to someone who's just a joke.
He's been so badly booked, hasn't he, Dolph Ziggler? He's been doing so many jobs recently, and it's just like, they have 1 minute, they have Riley built up to face him, and then they drop that, and then they have Mason Ryan, then it's Zack Ryder, Mason Ryan, Zack Ryder again. It's like, where are they going with this?
Again, you've heard that the British Fist are not a fan of Zack Ryder, but what I'm going to say this is drop it to him and get it done over with.
Fuck it, might as well now. They've made it a joke anyway.
Yeah.
We then get footage of Nash attacking Triple H. Do we really need this? They basically announced that Triple H is out for another 5 weeks, NJ's unhappy, and Nash is re-signed.
It's sad, but again, the whole Nash getting re-signed is showing that they're going to probably continue this Nash versus Triple H storyline, which again is a positive.
Maybe at Survivor Series, maybe at TLC. We don't know what's going to happen there. Triple H is out for another... He's out past Survivor Series. We all know what he's like at making miraculous comebacks, don't we?
Very true.
From injury. He's a very resilient little boy, that
Something
guy.
to look forward to.
We also had Cole getting on the mic and then announcing that JR isn't here. It's like, I didn't want to see this match anyway, to be honest, but they advertised it, so at least deliver. This is what happens when you had so much Muppet stuff that you had to include because the network said you had to, and then you don't have enough time for what you essentially wanted to do. I don't give a shit about this commentator versus commentator feud. I don't think anyone does, and I'm not looking forward to watching this next week if it does happen.
All I'll say for next week is finally we're going to get clear commentators on each show. We'll probably get JR and Joey Lawler on Raw, and the whole three-way on SmackDown.
And they can finally do their fucking jobs.
That's it, and end it all together.
Then we get to the main event. This was the bad booking of all booking. Sorry, mate, you continue.
I was going to say what match was Miz versus Cena. Wow.
A WrestleMania 27 rematch. Cut a long story short, Cena wins this clean, dominates R-Truth. So why does he need The Rock?
This is really horrible because one, yes, he dominated Miz. Miz did put on a good fight, given that, because you expect that from Miz. Yeah. And you had R-Truth, who weren't even a part of this match, and he, without even being in the match, got dominated as well. I just thought it was horrible. It
was horrible. You could have had R-Truth come in there, cause DQ, beat on Cena, at least develop some interest for this pay-per-view, make Awesome Truth look strong. It wouldn't hurt Cena because he's already been booked like a Superman anyway.
Because now Cena's got The Rock on his team.
How are we supposed to believe that? No.
Well, the thing is, even though he's got Rock on his team, that's so big for John Cena. So John Cena's had his big moment tonight. Where was Awesome Truth's big moment? It got shattered at the end of Raw.
Exactly. So how are we supposed to believe that Awesome Truth are viable contenders to Rock and Cena when we're just seeing Cena defeat him on his own? It's stupid build for the main event, I feel. They need to really, really hammer down Awesome Truth for us. It's just stupid.
And all I've been saying is we've been getting replies from our Raw review, and people have been saying, "Oh, we've still got weeks left." But that's not the point. You've got 3 weeks to build up Awesome Truth to look ready to actually beat someone as big as The Rock and John Cena.
Definitely. It was a terrible way to end the show, wasn't it? And the show overall, I don't think was that good, but we'll go on to that in our overall thoughts. Suppose now we'll have to move on to the debacle, which is TNA. So at least we opened up TNA positively today, or on Thursday. Last week we had the #1 contenders match where Bobby Roode became the #1 contender. We knew that James Storm and Bobby Roode were going to have a title match this week. Open up with James Storm as the champ, and then he calls out Bobby Roode was a good opener. I always enjoyed being when he opened in the show, especially for a crowd like Macon, Georgia.
James Storm starting mic, great opener, because obviously we all know that he is the champion and he has good mic skills. He calls out his tag team partner, and you get to see the way that they talk great towards each other and how much they're looking forward to their main event match.
Yeah, definitely. Roode talks about being happy for Storm after he beat Angle, and it's an 11-minute segment where they both just hype the match out of each other. And it's amazing to me how much emphasis they put on the fact they were friends, because we all know what happened later on in the night. We'll go on to it. You guys probably already know about it, but we'll go on to it, not to spoil anyone who hasn't watched it yet. But, a good opener. I enjoyed the opener. The interaction between the two is good. The fact they're having a match later is hyping that up, so it's all good to me.
And the good thing I'm going to say about it, it worked clusterfuck. We didn't have too many people coming down to mess it all up. It kept with the two main people that were in the main event, so nicely done.
Very well done, TNA. After that, we get knockout tag action. Gail Kim and Madison Rayne versus Tara and Techmacher for the TNA Knockouts tag titles. So just throwing a title match on free TV.
Gail Kim is already guaranteed her championship match for the Knockout Championship. So yes, you're happy about that. Well done, Gail Kim. But did they really have to give her the championship tag?
Yeah, I know. The worst thing about this is Madison Rayne got the pin on Tara, and it's like, my God, the worst wrestler got the pin on probably the best wrestler there. It's like they're trying to make Gail Kim look strong going into the pay-per-view, but did she really need these Knockouts titles? Did she really need it? And there's probably the most worthless belts along with the TV title.
That's true. Giving the belt to Gail Kim, yes, it gave her a big positive win, but to be honest, it's not done her any justice than what she had when she first started.
And I suppose it makes her look strong, but that's really about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
And another title change on free TV, TNA. We'll go more to that into the main event. We then have Garrett Bischoff calling out his dad to apologise. He got no entrance. He was not very good on the mic, I didn't think. It's amazing how, TNA every week has 2 segments I don't care about, and this is one of them. The whole Bischoff thing. It's all to introduce Garrett as a wrestler.
Yeah, I'm sorry for that, Dan.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm not your dad, though, I'm afraid.
No, but I'm sorry for that too, Dan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for
I'm
apologising.
sorry for that, but I'm not sorry for being in this video with you.
Well, what are you going to do, hit me?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. You hit down Bischoff.
You hit down Bischoff, and Immortal come out, and he runs away. Then you have this backstage segment where basically Bischoff wants a rematch of his son. They actually explained why Bischoff is still employed by TNA, which is a major loophole they needed to address. They have iron contracts or something. I can't really remember the term they used. So yeah, this segment overall, just do we care?
All it is, as I've said many times, is getting Jared Bischoff into becoming a wrestler, a part-time wrestler, whatever he's going to become, and Bischoff's the one who's going to push him up there.
Yeah, it was short and to the point, I'm guessing, and basically we have Garrett late in the night. We have Garrett accepting his dad's offer for a match, but then we realise that this isn't even leading to a pay-per-view match. No, TNA can't build up to a pay-per-view. They're building up to free TV on their Go show, which is going to have 2 segments, which has nothing to do with the fucking pay-per-view.
But my question for you, Dan, is would you really want to see this at a pay-per-view?
No, but I'd rather them at least try and build some anticipation so people can fucking buy their pay-per-views. The fact that this is getting done on free TV, I don't know, it's just fucking stupid in my opinion.
It'll be done out the way by the pay-per-view.
Definitely so. We had a backstage segment hyping a Daniels RVD feud. I suppose at least they're moving Daniels away from AJ Styles now.
Who he beat,
of course, yeah. Yeah, of course he beat him. I quit. So it looks like they're going to have a pay-per-view match at Turning Point. RVD said, see you at Turning Point, so there we go. It was really disappointing the fact that they had a whole segment of backstage segments. I hate that, especially when you're in Macon, Georgia, and you've got an arena of fans, and you've got an arena which you can use. Why do you spend like a whole segment backstage? So disappointing.
It was the backstage segment. Yes, it gave us what we need, but we had big and better things to come, so we'll go on to them.
Jesse Sorensen versus Austin Aries. Again, Jesse Sorensen got no entrance. We can't really buy into his character when he doesn't have an entrance.
No, he's one of the ones that I don't really care about. He goes in a match with Austin Aries, and Austin Aries, again, as the X Division champion, he does need to look strong.
Yeah, he needs to look strong. The thing I don't get about this is you have Jesse Sorensen get the roll-up pin. You have Kid Cash on commentary. Kid Cash is doing a great job in doing a great sell job. Oh, Jesse Sorensen is the new and upcomer. He has nothing on me. I'm the big guy on campus. But you had him there. They played the crowd really well in this match. I enjoyed the match. It's just that why do you have to have Sorensen get the pin clean? Why can't you have Kid Cash distracting Jesse Sorensen to allow Austin Aries to get the pin, or have Kid Cash cause a DQ, especially if they're going to have a match at the pay-per-view. It's just bad booking in my opinion.
I find it really hard to watch because when you see matches like this, you expect them to be like a squash match or Austin Aries to get the upper hand because of him being the bigger wrestler and the one that's the champion. But again, I just didn't enjoy this match as much as I was hoping to.
I enjoyed the match. It's just the booking's stupid. Robbie E and Rob Terry and the Ronnie and Eric Young segment. My God, this was the our main event, and this is the Jersey Shore bullshit that we're getting with the TV title. Do we really give a shit about this? Every week we say, do we give a shit? And we don't. It's Jersey Shore.
Because every Eric Young segment, I just really don't care about because he's not going to make it anywhere in TNA, and this is basically proving it.
The TV title is now one of the worthless titles in the business. We have Rob Terry beating down Ronnie and Young. You know, they didn't even get like a popular Jersey Shore guy like The Situation or Snooki. They got Ronnie, and it's like, who really gives a shit? And it sets up a tag match for next week. Rather than the pay-per-view, which they could have at least built to with some celebrity star power, it set up a tag match between all 4 of them next week on free TV. Oh, great! I don't want to see it.
No, again, let's move on.
Yeah, let's just fucking move on. The next segment I thought was a pretty good segment. Jeff Jarrett and Bully Ray versus Jeff Hardy and Mr. Anderson. Continuing 2 stories going into the Turning Point pay-per-view. The match got 5 minutes. I thought it was a good tag match. I also thought the booking was okay in this match because you had Steiner interfere and beat on the faces, making the heels look strong, creating anticipation to your pay-per-view.
I was really enjoying this because throughout the match you did the right thing, make the heels look strong and have the faces have their input into the match to make them look strong as well. I think the way it was done, the interference, okay, because obviously it's made no clean winner between the 2 matches we have, so I think it was nicely done.
So I'm guessing these 2 were going to face off at Turning Point. So that was a good segment, we thought.
Yes.
Right before the main event, we have a segment involving Matt Morgan and Crimson. Morgan talks about how people want them 2 to face off, and we're going to be getting this match at Turning Point. Crimson accepts.
Yeah, because people on my Twitter wants to see us in a match.
Yeah, and people on my Twitter want to see me and you in a match too.
Yeah, plug that all you like.
Plug Twitter a lot tonight, don't they? Like WWE do. My only issue here is we want to see this match, but there's no real defined heel or face in this. I could pass that. But what interaction have we seen between these 2 apart from this going into the pay-per-view?
They did mention the hatred toward or their match between Samoa Joe, so I think they're going to keep building off that, and they're going to have their clear who's going to be the stronger one out of the 2.
Crimson will probably win that, but oh well. Turning Point next week, I think. Not that we would know. Good segment, I thought. Hyping up a match. Any matches now hyped by TNA for World towards pay-per-views are good, because if we didn't get this in the main event segment, that we got.
Dear.
Robert Roode and James Storm for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship.
First thing I want to say is that it got good time.
It got good time, and it was a good match as well. It's probably one of the best TNA main events they put on all year. You know, Roode, but basically, you have Roode turn heel using a beer bottle, and you at this point you think to yourself, wow, all this is happening so quickly. James Storm has had a 2-week title reign. Now Roode has won it, even though Hogan said he wasn't ready when he was ready at the fucking pay-per-view, Bound for Glory, when he won the Bound for Glory series, and it's like they're going through all this so fucking quickly now.
It was hard to see because I'm thinking, what's made Hogan so change his mind at the very last minute? So to be honest, I think the way they've done this is just horrible. I couldn't really put a thumbs up to this at all.
Well, I thought it was a good match. It's just that this is TNA's long-term problem. You know, this match should have happened at a pay-per-view. It would have drawn interest. The heel turn would have been a great thing to have at the pay-per-view rather than on free TV. And this is TNA's problem: is they go for the cheap pops and they're not going for pay-per-view buys. And we saw what happened with WCW when they did the same thing. They went out of business because the pay-per-view is where you draw your main money.
Yeah, that's very true. And now the question is, they've done this now. They've rushed so many things. What's going to happen next?
Exactly, and that's the thing. This is what we wanted to see happen in a payoff match, but we're not seeing it anymore. It's happened on free TV. You know, at least now you have Robert Roode as a heel, James Storm as a face. They'll probably do something later down the line now that James Storm is apparently injured. So, you know, it's just that the interest has kind of been decreased now because of this, isn't it?
It is true. When I first heard that these two... Well, we've been asked, when I first watched TNA, I saw these two form, I thought, we've seen in WWE how tag teams have broken up and gone against each other. Let's see if TNA do it. And here's our chance for it to happen. But it's been rushed. So my interest has gone from it being something I want to see, something I don't want to see.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is really stupid in my opinion how much they've rushed this. You know, I don't really have much else to say about it apart from they could have done this so much better. This could have been a real turning point for TNA in my opinion. Coincidental that the next pay-per-view they've got is called Turning Point.
That's very true. The big question I have now is they've got to try and fix this so they can still get their ratings working, their storylines working. Yeah. But again, they've rushed this, so I can't think what they're going to do next.
With TNA's focus on ratings, it's not like they're going to really want to do anything for their pay-per-view. But anyway, we'll save this argument for another day. Let's just move on to SmackDown.
Yes, let's.
Before we go into our overall thoughts, I just want to say this. SmackDown was probably the best show of the week, wasn't it?
SmackDown did a lot more justice than other shows have, yes.
Yes, we'll drop that bombshell now while we're doing SmackDown because we're probably the most positive thing we're going to be doing today. We opened up this week's SmackDown with Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. It was nice of SmackDown to open up with a match. Let's look at the match first, and then we'll move on to some of the issues we do have with this match.
Well, when we read the spoilers, thanks to that WWE, I thought, oh, a street fight, weapon usage. Cody Rhodes has the upper hand.
You think so, brother?
I was hoping.
In a match with Orton, Cody Rhodes the upper hand.
I was hoping.
Anyway, it was a great way to open SmackDown. It wasn't the best street fight, but it was definitely a great brawl. My question is, it was only 16 minutes, great match. Orton wins. Now, my question is, you know, what is it doing with this feud now? This is a feud I wanted to see go long term, maybe put Rhodes over, but it looks like Orton is, you know, even though Rhodes looked competitive in this match, it's kind of all about Orton again. What has this now done for the feud or future?
You've seen that Orton in past matches that Cody has been involved with, Orton's basically beat him down or pinned him even, RKO'd, whatever. And now you had a street fight that they had it either way. You had Cody Rhodes looking strong, Orton looking strong, so it's a good match, but again, it has finished with Orton winning again. Yeah, and it finishes also with Orton bagging Rhodes. Oh, God. That's kind of a bit of burial. But I don't know. The word burial and job get passed around a lot. So, you know, I'll say this is a good opener. It's just that I wonder what it's going to do for Rhodes and what it's going to do for this rivalry, which I was actually really interested in. And I wanted to see for the IC belt. Because I think Orton, as he's become multi-world heavyweight champion, he's at the stage when he needs to be putting people over. And if Cody Rhodes was to be that first step of putting someone over, he's done a real bad job at it so far. Definitely so. There's one thing we want to mention here now. We had a segment, it was like a Raw thing with Triple H and Nash, but that's not the important thing here. We had a segment with Punk on Nickelodeon. And I wonder why WWE are doing this when they really need to develop this guy's character. And it really made me realise how much they've messed up with Punk's anti-establishment, edgy character, in my opinion. Well, to back that up, we've seen that Big Show's gone on to Nickelodeon. A monster has gone on to, and his monster thing's been pushed down. And we have Punk as the edgy character, like Dan said. He's now gone to Nickelodeon, so his character's probably gone downhill now.
Oh god, I just don't like him being on Nickelodeon, especially when I don't know. It's just the way that his character has gone from like SummerSlam, Money in the Bank, all the way down to now, which is kind of like a bit not nowhere near as good as it could have been. The steam has just gone so much on that train now, isn't it?
I'm just thinking, are they going to pile more on to make Punk look worse, or are they going to start putting him into a good working feud? Well, we'll save that for Raw.
He's in the main event. That's all I care about at the moment. Sure. But then I had Ted DiBiase versus Tyson Kidd. I would initially say this is filler, but then I look at it and think, maybe they're finally doing something with Ted DiBiase, building him up. I mean, we haven't seen him since Night of Champions.
That's the question. If they wanted to build Ted up, they should have built him up with Cody, or maybe made him come back a few weeks after the Night of Champions but not a month or so later.
No, like a month or two, probably, isn't it? But like the fact they should have done this, the way they did that face turn with him and Rhodes, it was so ineffective, and the way they only had like 1 week of build to it, and then they had a match, then they sort of just left him off TV, and it's like, well, fuck's sake. And now you're bringing him back, and we're supposed to believe that he could be built up again. Well, you could drop the ball twice with this guy now. They could build him back up again. They'll probably build him in a feud with Rhodes, by the looks of it, maybe from the Orton rivalry finishing. But God,
again, this is week 1 of Ted's return. All I'd say is tune for next SmackDown to see what happens next.
Yeah, definitely so. Even though the crowd was a little bit dead, it still did its job of putting Ted over as a baby face. Got a strong win. So next segment we got was actually I enjoyed this segment. We had a segment where Mark Henry was talking about not giving Big Show a rematch. Then the important bit comes when he starts bullying Daniel Bryan. And as we all know, Daniel Bryan has got the Money in the Bank briefcase. And we see this tease that they're actually going to have a main event, Daniel Bryan versus Mark Henry tonight. Now, this is good because it spotlights Daniel Bryan's Money in the Bank, which is good. They need this.
Yeah, again, it was Mark Henry saying that, obviously, in his words, that he doesn't deserve to face him, and they're going to have this match to prove that you can't beat him. So again, it was set up a match, so main event as well. So I think it's nicely done.
And we'll go into more detail on Daniel Bryan in the main event, because I feel this did do a lot of good for Daniel Bryan in this main event. And we also had some good build-up to this main event as well, which we'll talk about when the main event comes around. Next, we have a Divas match. It's filler. Alicia Fox versus Natalya.
And you've heard what we've said on Raw, so to be honest, this has just got worse. Natalya is becoming more and more buried and not of a Diva of Doom. So I think, to be honest, the fact that Alicia Fox, who's gone from nothing to nothing, beat Natalya, is only bearing them more.
Are any of these two involved at the pay-per-view? It's Eve versus Beth. Surely they should be doing stuff to hype the pay-per-view match. They might even have a fucking another 5-on-5. I don't know, but goddamn. At least feature people that are going to be featured on your pay-per-view rather than this pointless filler match which does nothing for no one. That's all I can say.
Just same here.
We then have a Big Show promo. He came out talking about how him and Henry have unfinished business. It's nice to see some promo segments on SmackDown to do some storytelling until Christian comes out.
Oh, yes. And he's Mr. One More Match guy. And all he thinks is that Big Show doesn't deserve it because he lost at the pay-per-view. So now it should be Christian, who everyone's meant to believe that he believes that he does deserve one.
He's made that catchphrase his own, isn't he? One more match.
Yes.
I want one more match. I don't know. Basically, the whole thing comes down to Big Show chokeslamming Christian. Christian thinks he's a number 1 contender, but he's not. I thought this was going to set up a number 1 contender, but then I realised that I read the spoilers. But, this led into the next match we had. We had Big Show chokeslamming Christian. Christian's out on the floor and can't compete for some reason, even though it's just a fucking chokeslam.
Well, in a way, I'm kind of glad that he didn't get this match, because Sheamus versus Christian, that's been built up. Yeah. That should be more of a pay-per-view match. So I'm kind of glad it didn't happen.
But we instead get Wade Barrett coming out. He comes out and basically gets on the mic and says, Christian obviously can't compete, so I've arranged another guy to face you. It's me. And that was great, wasn't it? Getting Wade Barrett on the mic, involved in that match. And this whole segment I enjoyed.
It was a match that I was looking forward to. Once I read that it was going to be Wade versus Sheamus, two brawlers going at it in a match. And again, Wade Barrett's getting more involved, and he's getting involved with someone's getting such a great push on SmackDown. So I was thinking, go Wade.
Definitely so. And Wade Barrett gets the win, but he gets the win in the way which doesn't make Sheamus look weak, getting him the win, but also continuing the storyline between Christian and Sheamus, as Christian distracted Sheamus to allow Barrett to get the win. So in my opinion, that is good booking from a storyline perspective and a push perspective as well, because you're not burying Sheamus, but you also keep keeping Barrett getting those wins that he needs.
And the good thing about this is that, yes, you gave Wade Barrett the win. That's one big positive. But you had Christian Spear, Sheamus at the end of the match, so it's continued them a feud. So I thought it was all nicely done.
And the heels looked very strong as well, which was good. And I'd say one thing. I'd love to see Wade Barrett versus Sheamus for the World Heavyweight at some point. That sounds like that would be a great match to have.
By the way Sheamus getting built up, I wouldn't be surprised if he does go on and become the World Heavyweight Champion.
Yes, and with the way Barrett's being built up, maybe he's being built up as a contender to win Royal Rumble. Who knows? And we also had that backstage segment afterwards where Sheamus beat on Christian and Barrett. That was pretty good, wasn't it? It just added a little bit more to the whole rivalry thing.
They could have just left it in the ring, like the commentators said, but adding a bit more to it, I guess, was going to be more impact to their feud. We
had a backstage segment with Big Show saying that he'll be in Daniel Bryan's corner for that main event match. This is good as it introduces Big Show into that main event with Mark Henry. It allows Daniel Bryan to be spotlighted. It was good hype for the main event, and you've also got some tease there still of the Big Show Mark Henry storyline. So for me, that backstage segment set the main event up very well in the continuing, throughout the night.
Because when it does come to Daniel Bryan, who's been losing matches, I think he does need someone by his side for going against someone's Mark Henry.
Big Show would be a great help.
There we go.
Sin Cara versus Epico, the debuting Epico. Great name, Epico.
It was, because to be honest, the match they went in, again, it wasn't the best matches. It got a short amount of time, so I think, to be honest, Sin Cara, continue the feud with Sin Cara.
Hunico.
Hunico, yeah.
We had Hunico interfering, causing a DQ finish. Him and Epico beat up on Sin Cara. Do you know, I mean, the match wasn't very good, but the segment itself was effective. If they're going to be continuing the storyline to a pay-per-view, it was effective in that sense.
But we talk about the fact that Hunico and Sin Cara could continue, but I saw a possible tag team there. I'm thinking WWE need tag teams, so why not have these two after Sin Cara and Hunico finish?
Exactly, and that was very good. And good segment, even if the match wasn't that great. At least it did what it was supposed to do, and that was continue some storylines, which we've been moaning at SmackDown a lot.
We do,
even though they've improved at that now.
True.
Then we get to our main event. Mark Henry versus Daniel Bryan. A lot of things we can say about this. I personally thought this was a very well done segment, but we'll dissect it. You go first.
Okay, when you have it, we have Mark Henry. Of course, he's going to be booked strong in this match because obviously he's the World Heavyweight Champion. Daniel Bryan, there was times in this match where he did look weak, but obviously you do expect it because he's just getting back into this winning spree. So I'm thinking the fact that you had them going at it and Daniel Bryan getting some offense to Mark Henry was a good move for Daniel Bryan.
Definitely so. And the fact that they're now featuring Daniel Bryan with that Money in the Bank briefcase in the main event, especially if they're going to be especially if they are going to be making him cash in and building him up to this main event guy, it's good main event exposure for him. He needs to be in these kind of matches, and the match itself ended in a DQ when Big Show came in and knocked Mark Henry out, so that continued their feud, and you're also at the same time spotlighting Daniel Bryan, so for me this accomplished a lot of things. And then we had the post-match as well, where both Big Show and Mark Henry both looked strong from their individual things.
I think that's true. You had Daniel Bryan starting to look strong against main eventers, check. Big Show and Mark Henry continue their feud, check.
Money in the Bank cash-in tease,
because that could be happening, and that's when I just feel it could happen any time between now and WrestleMania or at WrestleMania itself. And it also had, as Deal Along quite happily announced, that it will be Mark Henry versus Big Show at pay-per-view.
Yeah, at Survivor Series. So there we go then. So I thought that was a very good main event segment. It checked a lot of the boxes that we had planned. So you also had the tease of the Money in the Bank thing, which I thought was good, and the match announced for the pay-per-view. So all in all, I thought it was a very effective main event.
I like this. It was a good main event for SmackDown.
Yes. Shall we move on to our overall thoughts now, NJ?
Why not?
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, NJ, the question I always ask you at the end of these videos or audios. What was the best show of the week for you?
Well, I look at it all, and they all had at least one or two segments that I liked and led to something. But SmackDown overall had the most effectiveness that led to something I could see. Yeah,
SmackDown for me was definitely the better show. It's just more simpler. There was a lot of segments on there that I liked that I thought were effective. I thought the booking was a lot better on SmackDown. I personally thought the booking on Raw was total bollocks. I really fucking hated Raw with a passion. I didn't think TNA was that much better. I thought it was a little bit better than Raw, but I think we both have our own reasons for liking Raw or TNA.
Well, if I go with Raw, I think having the Muppets there was okay for entertainment purposes, but they were overly used, which dragged a lot of effectiveness of the match that we had. TNA, again, is the whole main event that blew it for me. And the Jersey Shore part just added more discomfort watching it.
For Raw, there was only really one segment I liked on Raw, and I will say this, Raw to me wasn't a very good complete show. With TNA, I know that going into it every week that I'm not going to like the Bischoff segment, the Jersey Shore segment, and the way they've done this main event thing between Robert Roode and James Raw is really making me dislike TNA too. That's the thing. I'm a TNA fan. I want to get behind TNA, but when they do this, it really pisses me off, which is why I kind of have to grade the shows a bit lower, like you do, of course, as well. Because of even though I thought there was a lot of good segments, there's a lot of shit in there as well. And sometimes that shit overrides it because they can't concentrate on their pay-per-view build. And they're always doing everything on free fucking TV and not drawing any money.
The upside to all three is that there was at least one, if not two parts that led to something either next week or at a pay-per-view.
Yeah, but we both agreed SmackDown was the best show.
We are.
In my opinion, by far, but, who knows? So there we go. Another Good and Bad of the Week podcast with me, Mr. Parkin, and this guy sitting next to me is NJ.
What's up?
Get your thoughts on this week in wrestling down in that comment section below.
And thank you for listening to our podcast. It's been enjoyable to do this once again. So please leave your comments in the comment section below. Subscribe up above. Like this podcast. And that has been it from the British Fist.
Goodbye.